Hello and welcome to Finextra. I'm Hannah Wallace and today I'm joined by Thomalla from ACI Worldwide. We're going to be talking about real-time payments and the differences between Europe and the US. Paul, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
So you've just come back from a series of roadshows around North America and Europe. Along the way, what differences do you see between US and European activities?
The first thing to say is having access to 300 senior executives from the banking industry talking about real-time payments, what their thoughts and concerns are. It was just a great opportunity to get all of that feedback. And I think if you'd asked me the question on the differences 6 months ago, I would have said, oh, it's chalk and cheese. Europe are way ahead. But all of a sudden, it feels like that the US have really caught up. They are really going for a ubiquitous play with the clearinghouse now live. They get to about 65% of the US accounts. When the Fed comes along, they get to 100. Well, that's the key measure. When do you get ubiquity to all of Europe and all of America? So, from that simple point of view, I would say it's extraordinarily similar. In terms of differences, though, obviously here within Europe, we have a series of regulatory effects. Real-time payments one, but of course PSD2 as well. And the US don't have that. Whether that's a blessing or a curse, we'll let others decide. But it is a big difference between the two. Overall, though, you have to say that the speed of change throughout Europe and America is just amazing, but very, very similar now.
I see. And how are real-time payments likely to affect both businesses and consumers?
Well, I think that the sheer scale, ubiquity, if you will, of the consumer side is key. Once you've got everybody on the real-time payments rails, which we will have soon in Europe and we're getting very close to in the US, that means that all consumers will be able to take benefit from it. And I think at that point, every bank will be driving it through and consumers will be in charge of that change. On the corporate side of it, I think that's a slightly different story because really this is about getting very close to your customer from a corporate bank's point of view and being able to work on their business cases, whether that's integration into their ERP systems, whether it's low-cost routings, whether it's creating what we used to call hubs and putting essentially the customer right at the heart of the bank. Well, that's what's really going to happen there, and that's going to happen very, very quickly. And it was only 6 months ago that people were saying, hey, Paul, what's the business case for this stuff? Why are we doing it? And actually now, that's gone. People get what the ROI is, and effectively it's getting closer to your customer and driving that change before somebody else does and building the business case with that customer to drive the change happen. And I think on the corporate side, that's right at the top of the tree. In terms of citizens, you and I, well, actually, we're driving that. We want it to happen, and therefore every bank will start to make those changes.
Okay, and what would your key advice be for European and US banks?
I think the key thing is that they start and they build the rails. They get on the rails and they get going. Because what they're going to find is that they'll experiment, they'll reach out to the customers want this, and next thing you know, they'll be tied into that relationship with them. And I think that's a great thing, especially on the corporate side. But this isn't so clear. We haven't got a crystal ball that says it's going to be exactly like this. It's going to be 2 years' time, 3 years' time. It's not. This is going to grow and it'll be amorphous in the sense that we need to work out what it is our customers want. We now have the digital tools to do that in a way that we never did. So to a degree, it's the old-fashioned going back and talking to your customers, understand what they want, but now you've got a set of tools that you can probably deliver what they want. So a little bit about experimentation, but mostly about getting close to your customer and working out what it is they really want, not just what you were able to give them in the past.
And finally, what's next for real-time payments, and how do you expect schemes to develop in the future?
I think there are two main things here, really. And one is that now we're starting to get real-time payments all over the world, whether it's in North America, into Europe, it's in the UK, whether it's in Asia. It'll be how do you start to join them together? How do you start to link up America with Asia, with Europe, and start to build real-time payments cross-border? I think that's the next big thing that you'll see. And certainly at ACI, that's what we see happening and we're being asked to do nearly all the time, to be honest with you. The second thing, though, I think is perhaps a more fundamental point, which is, you know, I go back to the change. This is probably a once-in-a-lifetime analog to digital change. And in that sense, it really is about changing the culture of the bank and how it gets closer to what its customers' needs are and building additional business lines and business opportunities based upon their end user and stakeholder needs. And that change, I think, is the key pivot point that we'll see within the banking industry.
Fantastic. Paul, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.